Hi YouTube, this video is going to cover how to set up progressive form capture using Basin JS. Basically the use case for this is, you have a form um, that is multi-step, right? And at each one of the steps, you want to capture all of the data that was submitted so that even if your customer or your user doesn't make it to the end of the form, you've still captured all of the steps along the way. And this is great for qualifying leads. The initial step might just capture the email, and then, the next step you ask for a little bit more details. And then, you might have like this banger of a question that you're trying to extract exactly what budget or, type of client they are. And you might lose a lot of the leads at that point when they get to this question that um, people are self-selecting and deciding not to continue with the entirety of the form, right? So that's the perfect use case for progressive form capture. Um, Obviously there's GDPR concerns with this type of feature, so do make sure that your users are located in an area that this isn't a concern, or you've included some sort of notice on the form that says, hey, we're going to be capturing whatever you enter into this form, regardless of whether you complete it or not. So that's my disclaimer. Um, if you navigate through to our docs, we have an example in here that you can basically copy paste and be off to the races. So you can either just adapt our example or fit it onto your existing multi-step form. So I'm going to go through that. Basically, you need to include our Basin JS helper script. We have lots of use cases for this, so we'll start with that. We'll add that into our page over here. And then, let's go back to the docs. And I'm just going to scroll past, kind of talking about the different aspects of it and just go to the full example with navigation, right? So you can see in this form, we're going to have, we have one form element basically, right? And then we have multiple steps that we're showing and hiding within that form. So that's basically the gist of it. And if we take this and go to our pen, I actually see that it's already included at the bottom, right? So you can just take our full example. And now if we get our endpoint, so I've already created a form. I have a YouTube project with a contact form. And you can see our endpoint here. So we'll just copy paste that into our pen over here, right? And, that's basically all there is to it. If I go ahead and hit save, I'm just going to name this YouTube progressive capture. And I'll even include this in the YouTube description. So we've already, we have name. So if I fill it out, Anthony at usebasin.com, right? And if I hit next, so I'm not going to complete the form. I completed the first step, right? Now, if I go back to my form and we click in to see the inbox, you'll see that I have this draft submission. And after 15 minutes, this will time out and actually complete as a submission, right? So you can see I have a draft. It hasn't completed. If I were to complete the submission, then, it'll get to the complete status. Otherwise, it'll just remain as a draft. If I refresh, I can start a new form submission, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll say Tony, and I only have so many emails, Anthony at usebasin.com, right? And we'll get my address in there, 123 Fake Street, right? And maybe Vancouver, BC. Age 55. I don't know what that matches up. Maybe we should go like, oh boy. Right, we'll just pick some random date. Today, sure. Right, so now I've actually submitted this whole form, and if we go back to my inbox, you can see I've completed it, right? and we have a complete submission. Yeah, so I mean, like, that's basically all there is to it. There's a bunch of caveats about when submissions complete. So unless the submission completes, we'll never actually email the end user or the customer an auto response or anything like that, since they didn't complete the submission. So one of the best things you can do, say for this form, is to set up an integration like a webhook. So you can add a webhook and decide when it's triggered. So here, like, you might create a hook for submissions that complete, submissions that are incomplete, and then a different hook for spam submissions, right? So like my completed submissions, depending on the flow, right? You'll send that somewhere. So just the completed non-spam submissions, right, will go somewhere. It's not gonna work. Yeah. Anyways, so you would route depending on what your use case is. Maybe you have a Zapier workflow for completed submissions that just go straight into your CRM, and then there's some like follow-up workflow for partial submissions. Someone just needs to manually go through them and decide which ones need follow-up, right? Depending on your sales process or the purpose of your form, that might be something that you do. And you can route specifically the abandoned submission somewhere. Yeah, so that is basically all there is to this feature. And I hope that makes sense. Of course, if you have any questions or ideas for improvement, definitely reach out to support@usebasin.com via email, and someone will help you out. Have a nice day.